Hola, bom dia. Carl Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal live stream, YouTube channel and podcast. And it's nice to be back at base here in Anadia in the Aveiro district of Portugal. I don't know if you saw the show yesterday. I was on a train and I attempted to do the live stream from the rather marvelous Alpha Pendula train service express to Lisbon. And it just basically was a bit weird doing a show with a mask on with my microphone hidden inside the mask. And I was feeling a little self-conscious in a carriage full of people. We did our best. It was quite exciting, and had a wonderful time in Lisbon yesterday. And I am very thankful to Zest and Rent Auto, the car hire combo. No affiliate link or commission there. Oh yes, there is actually. But it's my pleasure to mention them actually because they make car hire so easygoing. Unlike some experiences we have of car hire companies. So I do recommend the Zest and Rent Auto combo if you are coming to Portugal, or even like me, if you just occasionally want to rent a car to use in Portugal. So I am now the proud hirer of a vehicle, and we can get out and about a bit more as we go into this rather autumnal looking time of the year. It is truly looking autumnal out of the window, a bit hazy, foggy, but I'm sure the sun is coming soon. The Portuguese sun is coming soon to lift that away. So let's do that now. Let's have a look at the weather here in Portugal. A couple of hellos already, though. Eloise, hola, bon dia, Carl, and listeners, good morning to you. Eloise in Penella, I suspect, this morning. And Jim McDonald, bon dia, todos from a cloudy and cold Wiesbaden in Germany. So it's getting autumnal and cold there as well, Jim. So a quick look at the weather then in Coimbra. This is the weather pattern I get. 15 degrees and overcast. 24 to look forward to. A cloudy day today, sunny day tomorrow, then back to the cloud on Thursday, and then a sunny day on Friday. Weekend's looking okay. Temperatures around 24, 23. Faro, 17 degrees at the moment, and sunny down there in Faro. Lucky people. 25 to look forward to. Isn't that great this time of year? Still 25, the high today in Faro. A couple of cloudy days, and then sunny again on Friday. Porto, 16 degrees and overcast at the moment. Cloudy day, high of 20 today, 22 to look forward to tomorrow. Actually, a sunny day tomorrow in Porto. Cloudy again on Thursday, and then a sunny run, actually, of 3 or 4 days of sunny weather in Porto from Friday, which is unusual compared to the capital. 17 degrees and overcast, and a cloudy-looking week. 17 degrees, yes, overcast in Lisboa at the moment. 26 to look forward to today. 3 days of cloud. And then a sunny-looking Friday is forecast in the capital. That's the weather. Before I go to my guest this morning, Geoff Layland is here, everybody. Geoff is moving to Portugal, and he's also starting a business here, a very interesting business. The chap has a very interesting background. I was just chatting with him before we came on air just now. So I'm sure we're going to have a very interesting, fascinating chat with Geoff. But before we go there, just wanted to tell you about the president's speech yesterday. I did mention the theme of the show yesterday was all about the anniversary. Well, it was Republic Day anyway in Portugal. October the 5th, 1910 is when Portugal switched from a monarchy to a republic for a 16-year stretch before it then became a dictatorship. A fascinating time in Portugal's history. But the president commemorating the most agonizing October the 5th in Portugal's 47 years of democracy. President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa marked the 110th anniversary of the implementation of the Republic with a somber speech in Lisbon, talking about the most difficult and demanding October the 5th commemorations in the history of Portugal's 47 years of democracy. I won't read the whole article, but it just tells you the cut of his jib and reminds us a little bit of what we're up against at the moment. We do not want any more dictatorships, he stressed, in this year in which democracy has truly been put to the test. There has to be balance between the protection of life and health and the economy without dramatizing too much or too little. And I think he's, as usual, for my money, he's hit the nail on the head there about the challenge ahead for our societies at the moment. As often seems to happen with the president's speeches, he messaged on multiple levels. It's like a panto. What this October the 5th tells us is that we have to continue to resist, to prevent, to care, to innovate, to act in freedom, to know how to make diversity compatible with convergence in the essential, to superimpose collective interests over personal interests. So very interesting. And he's going to be watching the government like a hawk. That's his job. There are indeed those who prefer exceptional sanitary solutions to the pandemic, which would drastically sacrifice the economy and society. And there are those who prefer solutions for the economy and society, which would increase the risks for life and health. So I guess, yes, that's his position, is it, to make those sort of observations and to strike some sort of sensible balance and, yes, sound the note of democracy and balance in society. Great job, Mr. President. And we now bring onto the screen, we have with us this morning, Geoff Layland. Good morning to you, Geoff. How are you today, sir?
Good morning, Carl. A bon dia, should I say?
You should. Well, a bon dia to you. A familiar face, because you join us now in the wine club occasionally, and you're with us on the Expat Man Cave on Friday night. So becoming a part of the things here on Good Morning Portugal. How did you discover us in the first place?
Probably by accident, just surfing the internet. I think we're having sort of being over here and being over there rather. We just were falling in love with the place. We thought, well, it'd be good to try and just find some connections and get some advice. And within a matter of 30 minutes, we found yourselves, Expats Portugal, Pure Portugal, all these sort of the mainstream internet-based service providers, which are phenomenal. I mean, we've never met, but we've spoken many times. But we feel like we've already got. And we do have friends living near Tavira, Fuseta, near Monchique. So we're over there quite a bit anyway, which is more or less why we're sort of verging towards moving there completely, which is quite exciting.
Tremendous. Yeah, there is a pretty good support network developing, I think, for people who want to come over and want to find out information. You're doing that, and the great thing about talking to you this morning is you're covering a number of bases of interest for people. You're moving home. You're starting a business or businesses here, which are a couple of things that people will be very interested in, I think. And then of course, we have this, as it says on your title there, you are Geoff Layland of the CBD Science Group. So I want to talk to you about that as well, because there's a lot of interest in CBD oil products and their health benefits. So we'll move on to that as well. But why Portugal in the first place, and when are you coming?
Well, first question, why Portugal? It wasn't really Portugal until last September. I have business interests in Spain, both north and southern. We love the Andalusia area, Sierra Nevada, Malaga. We love Mallorca. So our plan always was to sort of move towards the Spanish area, and flip between the two. And then last September, we hired a motorhome from Malaga, and we decided to do a tour west and just keep going. So we went from Malaga through Cadiz, Seville, over the border into this strange land called Portugal. And we went across, well, we avoided the Algarve because the Algarve is the Algarve. And we went across through Sagres, up through Mil Fontes, up to Lisbon and back again. And we fell in love with the place. It was very interesting, an experience which we will never forget. So we started to look around, and it's interesting when things are meant to happen. Obviously, your good lady is an astrologist. Certain things tend to happen in sequence, and all of the doors that we would need to be opened were presented as open. We had friends moving there, opening farms there, opening businesses there. I came across my colleagues at the CBD Science Group last August, and that was happening in Portugal. And I started to get the hint, thinking, I think there's something guiding us towards Portugal. Yeah. And of course, we love the Tavira area. In fact, we're coming for Christmas. We've been to Tavira a few times. And of course, it's just next to the Spanish border. So if we desire some tapas or some flamenco, we can nip across the Ayamonte Bridge and have it there and just nip back again.
That's wonderful. Yeah, you can celebrate your New Year twice, can't you?
Well, that's maybe the best of both worlds. But it's fair to say we really have been very impressed with the people and the culture in Portugal. We love our pastel de nata. We've subscribed to Memrise and also Mia on the Portuguese course.
Yes.
So we're trying to get ourselves imbued in the Portuguese culture. Absolutely.
Have you tried one of the? I mean, you mentioned a couple of food items there, but have you tried these feijoa fruits yet?
I've seen them, but I haven't tasted them yet. No.
I'm going to do a live tasting. I think I caused a bit of a stir the other day when I ate a fig live on air. So before we go today, I'm going to eat the feijoa, and I also got a maracuja here. But as you discovered with me a little earlier on when I was showing you, it dripped on my keyboard, so that's a bit dangerous. But that's just has the most delightful aroma. So it smells beautiful in the studio here this morning. A couple more hellos, but thank you for that, Geoff. I mean, the signs were obviously there, and you've jumped on them, and that's all happened very quickly, isn't it?
It has really, yeah. I mean, it was a case of, we've just had plans. I'm not retiring just yet. I enjoy what I do, but as technology is providing options to work from anywhere within reason, you're thinking, well, why can't I do what I do from somewhere warmer? And that was the general goal, was to go somewhere warmer for winter, and just enjoy sort of a more leisurely lifestyle and relaxed lifestyle. But do it from a laptop in a different country. And we've tried it out. And that was part of the trial with the motorhome from Malaga to Lisbon and back. And I did work for a month. I was doing a bit of work in the morning and sending colleagues pictures of the beach, for breakfast. And this is where I am today. And they're going, sod you, Geoff.
Yeah.
Jeff, back in England.
Jeff with his Portuguese bragging right starting the day.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
annoying when people do that.
Technology does allow that, so it's a case of, and again, we are shifting the business to be more online anyway. So it's been interesting. It's been interesting, but Portugal will be the primary base. But I think over the next 2 or 3 years, we'll be flicking to and fro. Brexit issues, obviously, various things that you can and can't do in that time scale. But we'll be moving more and more between the two, more very frequently anyway.
Living the dream by the sound of it. Anna Forsberg says, good morning, hoping for better sound today. I was the same as you in your profile pic there, Anna. I did have my mask on the train. I couldn't not do that. I mean, I think they get a bit shirty if you don't wear a mask on the train. But hello from Costa de la Voz. Yes, we have proper sound again today, hopefully, fingers crossed. Bon dia from Neil in the Alentejo. You mentioned Millefonge, didn't you, earlier on? Beautiful part of the Alentejo. You like
Absolutely
it there?
love it. Oh, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I think that voice was perfect because we've been round through Sagraja, up the coast, found this little town with a beautiful inlet river, the River Myra, which was just astonishing as far as, the beautiful, calm section of the waters. And then around the corner, you had the Atlantic pounding in. So literally, there's a lovely little restaurant on the corner. You can literally look at both sides together, and it was just perfect. Beautiful sand, beautiful sea, beautiful food. It was.
I think that's one of those places the Portuguese keep as a little secret to themselves. That was recommended to me by a Portuguese landlord. But we're gonna blow it out wide open. Villanova de Millefonge.
Sorry,
beautiful place. Yeah, sorry, Portuguese friend. Good to have the Carl we know back, and not the sinister surgeon we saw yesterday. Thank you, Gary. Garvo, good morning to you. Hola, bon dia from a bright but cool Hampshire. It's all cooling down in the UK. I suspect it is where you are as well, Geoff, this morning. Hola, bon dia from Wayne. How long for you, Wayne? Let us know. Bon dia from Will, our COVID correspondent, Will. And every day, I think Will thought he might be having a rest by now, but every day brings a new twist and turn in the COVID adventure, the pandemic that the humanity is going through right now. Not least with Donald Trump's miraculous 3-day recovery or whatever. What a rascal he is. But maybe we shouldn't go into that right now. One of the points of interest for us is starting a business in Portugal. People do, have their questions and concerns and anxiety sometimes about bureaucracy here. And of course, part of that is just being in a new country. Part of that, of course, might be some strange quirks and setups. I'm wondering if starting a business is any easier, Geoff. How's your experience been of that?
Well, it's not my business. I'm actually an investor of the CBD Science Group, but there's a very large group of guys behind it, both scientific, medical, and business-wise and finance-wise. So we've been fortunate to have on the team some very senior officials, almost up to government level, who've been really supportive and helping. And you mentioned before about sort of expats coming to Portugal to spend their pensions and sit in the sun. I like to be an active investor. So when I heard we were coming to Portugal, I said, well, I need to go and see the place, see what we're doing. And for me, it will be absolutely wonderful to be spending time here working, retiring, but also generating income for the country. And that was part of the whole interest in investing, is we are setting up an extraction facility to process the CBD oils and other botanicals in the area São Pedro do Sul, which is the east of Porto, and that started up early last year, and that's been extremely well supported by the Portuguese local area, the Camera, EU funding coming in, and we're going to be employing people and processing and doing quite a few other developments. And part of my trip over there a few weeks ago, when I was potentially going to come and meet you but couldn't, We were meeting with the universities in Porto, Aveiro, and Coimbra, because they're also doing a lot of R&D with us and for us. So we really are trying to do as much work as possible in Portugal for Portugal. And the business then will obviously be for exporting internationally. So if in Portugal into the EU and further afield, hopefully.
Superb. So you're more of a Dragon's Den figure than having to sort of grapple face to face with the bureaucrats.
That's very kind. I wouldn't say Dragon's Den. Maybe more like a Starling's Den. I don't know, but yeah, we have fingers in a few pies, and again, I like to be an active investor. So if I get involved in something, I like to give it whatever I can. My input hopefully will be helpful. But yeah, because this is Portugal, which is obviously where we are today talking about it, very close to my heart. It's been wonderful. The people have been so supportive. It's remarkable trying to do this in the UK. There'd be so much bureaucracy, of which there's plenty in Portugal, but there's a genuine desire to give the youngsters who are leaving university something to do and somewhere to go rather than leaving the country. And we get this genuine feeling that the country is absolutely driving investment in local companies to employ local people and to keep the business here. So it's fascinating.
All sounds good, doesn't it? So
yeah.
from the Starling's Den, what's your catchphrase? I mean, you don't strike me as a kind of "you're fired" kind of bloke, or like I'm not investing my family's future in that. You know, like Valentine's. You seem to be like, that's interesting. Sort of, that might be your catchphrase. And you're looking here at something very progressive and. I think an incredible breakthrough for humanity with CBD. So for people who don't know anything about it, I mean, I think most people now have heard, if only from a friend, you should try CBD oil for your, for your anxiety or pain relief or whatever. Could you just give us a kind of beginner's guide to CBD?
Absolutely. And again, I'm at the same age where I had teenage kids, and the mention of cannabis would turn you white, and oh my God, drugs and drugs.
Yes.
If we just wind back sort of several thousand years, I mean, cannabis as a plant has been a healing plant for literally millennium. I mean, going back to cultures around the world. So it's not a problem. It's been a natural plant that's grown everywhere, and it has certain therapeutic benefits. Most people will have heard of cannabis as far as being giving you the high. Mum takes some cannabis and marijuana. Marijuana basically was Mary Jane. That was the sort of the Latin American sort of slang name for it. But in essence, the only thing that gets you high is a particular cannabinoid in the plant. And bearing in mind, a guy called Professor Mouchelen from Israel in the 1960s discovered what's called the endocannabinoid system, the ECS, which we have in our bodies, and which is why the cannabis plant seems to support and help so many illnesses, from anxiety to cancer to bowel problems. It seems an incredibly sort of all-encompassing product. And thinking, well, why does it do this? Well, Professor Mouchelen discovered the ECS system, which is still not taught in medical school, interestingly. But basically, the system, the body has receptors, CB receptors, CB1 in the brain and CB2 in primary organs. And these are designed to hook on to the cannabis molecule. And it helps almost like reset the body back to homeostasis, which is what the doctors refer to as a balance. So when you actually look at the cannabis plant, there's two varieties primarily. There's cannabis sativa and cannabis indica, and they're quite different. One is very high in THC, which is the psychoactive component, or you can breed them to have various levels. And one has virtually no THC at all, which is the hemp plant. Now, the hemp plant and the cannabis plant, from the leaf point of view, they look very, very similar. But the hemp plant is designed to grow for hemp oil, for seeds, for food, for rope. The word canvas comes from the word cannabis. It's basically flax and hemp were hugely important in the cultures of growing economies going back thousands of years, because the hemp grows anywhere. It requires very little maintenance. It has incredibly high protein from the hemp seeds. You can get hemp seed oil, but prior to that, you've got the hemp bud before it flowers and goes into seed. And from that, you can extract the herbal benefits. But the hemp plant doesn't have any of the psychoactive THC. It only has the CBD, along with maybe another 120 cannabinoids. I mean, we heard about THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, the psychoactive one, CBD, cannabidiol, but the CBN, CBG, CBV, CBT, and the general discussion is entourage effect, is whole plant extract, so you get everything. The analogy we make is like aspirin. Aspirin is basically an extract from willow.
Of course. Yeah.
Salicylic acid. Now, anybody that knows to take aspirin long term will usually have another drug to stop their stomach getting bleeds, because
Yeah.
the aspirin will attack the stomach. Well, if you go and take a piece of willow bark and chew it, you will get the benefit of the salicylic acid, but there's also an enzyme in the bark which will protect your stomach from the acid.
Yeah.
This isn't how nature works. It packages things. So there are certain companies extracting CBD isolate, which is a white powder, which is just the barest solid single sort of item out of the plant. And yet there are companies supplying what they call the whole plant extract. So you get everything in there. You know, green matter. It's a green, dark sort of gardeny smell rather than just a synthetically golden oil with a few chemicals added. So it's been around an awful long time. And Portugal, in fact, has a lot of history with cannabis. Prior to, I think, 2001, we know that Portugal deregulated a lot of the drug issues. Apparently, they had a huge problem with heroin and also HIV. It was the worst in Europe, and they said, well, what do we do? And they took a very bold move of, rather than criminalizing drug use, they made it a medical issue. You get a fine, and they'd say, well, why do you need heroin or cocaine in your life? What is it? And they took it as a medical view. And in a matter of 5 or 6 years, they became one of the most leading It was phenomenal. Even the fact the UK now have come to visit to see basically what Portugal have been doing right, because they've changed this thing. So, but prior to 2018, CBD was legal in Portugal. You could buy it from a health shop, and if you go to health shops now, you may still see a few bottles on the shelf. But as of 2018, the law changed considerably, where the EU developed the Novel Foods Directive, which basically says, unless this food product, because it was sold as a food supplement, not as a medicine, if this food supplement, unless there's exceptional prior use before 1997, it's now a novel food. In other words, it wasn't extracted and had used this way before. Therefore, you need to make claims for your product. So as of April next year, a lot of the suppliers are going to be well and truly stuffed unless they spent a lot of money proving that this very simple herb has certain benefits. And thankfully, the CBD Science Group, we are taking this route. We started, but my interest with these guys is they were going the medicinal route first. So within the cannabis plant, I say the THC, CBD are the two primary cannabinoids, but it's been well known through lots of documentaries the last 10, 20 years that THC has certain benefits for cancer. Not necessarily in the cancer cure, but certainly there's a process called cachexia, which people on chemotherapy lose their appetite and can literally starve. They just become so nauseous. Well, one of the things that cannabis gives you is the munchies. Anybody that's had it in the past, they say, oh, I fancy something to eat now. So that alone, that side effect is very useful in helping people with cachexia or sort of nausea from drugs in getting their appetite back. And of course, nutrition is vitally important in healing.
Of course. Well, that's amazing.
So the CBD Science Group are basically taking a medicinal approach first. So very excitingly, and I can share some links with you to post after this presentation, is that we're opening up medicinal trials in the UK at several key hospitals for palliative pain care. There's an issue at the moment with opiate use for pain care, in cancer especially. And the NHS have a real issue with palliative pain care, trying to keep people off opiates. So we're setting up the first major trial of a CBD THC combination in the UK with several hospitals. And there's a crowdfunding process going on as of next week for those that want to get involved. So you can get involved in a Portuguese business, you can get involved in cannabis research, you can get involved in cannabis palliative pain care. And we hope that trial to be over by the early next year. And there's already programs in place to help support the NHS with that new drug.
Tremendous, right? So this is very exciting, isn't it? And I think there are a few people here who have already some sort of sympathy with this approach. Hold on, going back to Will, I feel in the near future opportunities will arise for Quintas where people can go to be in nature and detox from screens. The mental health, physical stress. How do you cope with managing time on screen? Good question for me, Will. I think that's a sort of more general healing thing, which we might get around to, Geoff. Wayne is arrived home last night. I'm thinking he's made Portugal home now. So take a deep breath and Very good. Great to see you here, Wayne. Bon dia from Sunny. Some percent of the THCs are useful some aspects of ADHD, aren't they? Geoff, can you comment on that?
Yeah, again, the THC has the psychoactive effect, depending where you go. And this is part of the reason why I'm very pleased to see the products being tested, because you find grandma with arthritis was having to go to a dealer in the pub, and buying any old stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
And it shouldn't be that way. You should be able to go and get a prescriptive product that is known to work. Now, in certain countries in Europe, you're allowed to grow 6 plants for yourself, whatever strain you like, and then self-medicate. And I think that's a fair way to go. I grow peppermint for peppermint tea. Why don't I grow cannabis for my arthritis? I mean, to me, that seems a logical sort of self-maintenance use. But the problem with the THC is that there's a lot of product out there which is extremely strong. It's referred to as skunk. And you were off your face. I mean, if you just look at the packet, you and I would be on the floor. And this is basically the problem, is there's some extremely strong product out there. And for those that want to try it, and I fully agree that for young people and young souls who are going out this and try some of this cannabis, if it's a skunk variety, there's a lot of evidence that shows that psychosis and psychotic issues are a problem. And I'd say that there are certain people that are maybe predisposed anyway, in the same way that you and I enjoy a glass of red wine, but we're not alcoholics. People who enjoy maybe a bit of a smoke or a vape, and they're not cannabis or drug addicts. But there are certain people which need to be protected from the extremely high toxic effects of very high THC. But as we found and as we're doing with the trials, when you blend the two together, the CBD softens the THC effect, and the THC effect has certain benefits on certain cancers, certain tumors, certain problems to do with maybe digestive problems. Or CBD is very big for anxiety. Yeah, hugely effective for anxiety, which in these current times, you can see why people are turning to these natural products to try and just calm themselves down, rather than just,
So I think it would make sense then. It would be helpful ADHD there, Sunny. You mentioned there that some countries are allowing personal growth. Personal growth. No government's going to allow for personal growth. But Bon Dia CBD oil is great. I make it myself in Portugal. It is illegal to plant even one privately. So hopefully that will change. I always say, funny you saying how well it grows, because you see that, don't you? And it's funny how well it grows in people's attics as well, Geoff. I don't know.
Very warm attics, I
hear the Latin word sativa is a reference to that plant is useful, so cultivate it. Maybe an urban legend, but lots of plants called sativa. That's interesting. Yeah, the Latin. I mean, that means knowledge and truth, doesn't it? Sativa, I thought.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, the biggest exporter of medicinal cannabis in the world is the UK.
Oh, really?
Absolutely, 94 to 100 tons a year. And this is basically a company called GW Pharma out in Norfolk, where they have these massively huge grows. And that's a company that started about 5 or 6 years ago. And they've produced 2 drugs, one called Sativex, one called Epidiolex. Sativex is done for spasticity to do with multiple sclerosis. It's on the NHS. It's very expensive. Epidiolex is done for epilepsy and is going through final stage trials, I think, in the US. And that company is now worth about 2 or 3 billion dollars. I mean, it's growing very, very well. But the thing is, it's expensive. The NHS, I think, are struggling. But as of, I think it was November 2 years ago, November 2018, the UK actually legalized medicinal cannabis. You can then go to your doctor or your consultant and say, I'd like to have this drug for my MS pain. But the thing is, most doctors and consultants have no knowledge in cannabis because the stigma behind it, there's been no mainstream research. So what we're trying to do with CBD Science Group is to put that research in place and educate the doctors and the consultants. Say, look, these are bona fide products. They've been tested. We already have the distribution route set up to take them into pharmacies and into doctor surgeries. So please, medical guys, check out the knowledge. In fact, if you go back, Queen Victoria took cannabis for menstrual cramps. Any of the old bottles you see in the British Pharmacopoeia prior 1930s had cannabis tinctures in their general pharmacy. It was normal.
It's really amazing, isn't it, what happened to the plant? I remember when I was working at Positive News, we used to write a lot about hemp. And it was, it's a business thing, is it? A profit thing, isn't it? That sidelined and marginalized it. I think in the early 1900s.
After prohibition, yeah.
Yeah, it was well known, well loved, well used, as you say. There, with Queen Victoria's own case study there, and a very successful campaign to basically a smear campaign, a cultural smear campaign over decades and decades. So that is what people are working against, and it is great to see that the UK are taking it quite seriously. I remember interviewing a guy called Guy Coxall actually, and he was involved in a CBD company, and he was totally into cannabis, and its milestone in his life was being asked to join a government panel. Because the UK government were starting to take it seriously. And it was the most unusual thing. This guy was a proper sort of alternative culture dude. And there he was putting on a suit once a month and going to Whitehall to advise on, how the government might approach this. So hopefully that whole smear campaign thing, the public perception, the fear is slowly being turned around. And obviously you're part of that, right?
Absolutely. And again, you're right. I mean, most people that have knowledge of cannabis long term have probably sort of hippie background, but not necessarily. But if you're going to take this into the government level, you need to put the suits on and press the flesh with the accountants and the legal bodies. But we're doing that. I mean, the team that are behind the CBD Science Group are very heavily involved with regulatory bodies in the UK, the MHRA. All the licenses have been done, so the NHS are involved in the testing. So we're doing it the correct way. We should obviously be into the domestic retail market, no doubt, with their own range of oils and balms and creams. I mean, I do those anyway from the UK, but the CBD Science Group as a whole are building their reputation on the medical issue. That's their primary focus. And then obviously we'll be supplying others. And so with a novel foods issue coming next March, April, there's going to be many manufacturers and suppliers that won't have that approval, and we will. So hopefully we'll be able to support those guys as well.
Tremendous. Gary's saying EU really good at wiping out small entrepreneurs with innovating ideas by regulating, as you discussed. This is an issue, and perhaps we should dwell on that a little bit. Ty saying, good morning, Ty. Fascinating topic, makes me long for my previous career, pharmaceutical development, pilot plant manager. Hemp seed. Yes, actually, a lot of other people will have a memory of hemp from fishing. I remember the first time I saw hemp seeds were as fishing bait. I wonder if it gives the fish the munchies, says Gary. Will Thompson, no, Carl, the UK are not taking it seriously. Theresa May's husband is hugely invested in that whole hemp CBD export for medical, but nobody else is legally allowed, not even on a small scale. One rule for us, another for them. Yeah, well said there, Will. I think that's probably true. And when you said Norfolk, I was thinking, I'm wondering if Bernard Matthews had diversified into cannabis growing. That would make a great advert. And just one other thing to bring into our conversation here, Geoff. This is Will again. One of the upsides of this pandemic may well be a reduction in the faith in synthetic pharma and throw more respect on more natural medicines and systems, as is already happening. Now, I think he's right, but once it becomes hugely profitable, and the point that Gary was making about how the EU might represent the interests of large organizations and, shareholding corporations, who have a bottom line to satisfy. Does that marginalize the small growers? Is that good news for people who do want to lobby for their own self-care and home growing, as it were?
Potentially, yes. And I mean, the market is into the billions. I mean, and one of the reasons why the group behind the CBD Science Group, a Canadian company, they'd already been very successful in Canada and California, and they looked to Europe, and Portugal is an extremely beneficial base to be part of the EU. The growing environment is just like the Napa Valley in California. So everything is here. Yes. And in fact, there's 3 or 4 really big companies have already signed huge contracts to grow in Portugal. So, I mean, it's happening anyway. But the worry is, I would just like a sensible approach to be for personal use. You can grow maybe 6 plants and make your own oils and balms and smoke what you like. I've never been a smoker, but I appreciate people smoke and vape. But there are far worse problems, and most of the constables you speak to on the police force in the UK say they have more trouble on a Friday night with the kids drinking alcohol. He said, they're punching up and fighting up and causing problems. He said the guy's had a couple of drags on his toke. He said he'll be asleep in the cell, no bother at all. Just leave them alone. And a lot of the police forces don't really press charges now. They're saying, look, we're limited on resource, for funding issues. So we're going after sort of the crime issues and the hardened drugs, the heroines, the cocaines. But cannabis, really, other than falling asleep, you're not going to be fighting anybody.
Well, one of the best things I saw to do with it, and I think you're right on ground level. That is how the police feel about it. They've got better things to do, as you say. Three guys drink alcohol and they start a fight. three guys smoke cannabis and they start a band. You know,
That's
it's very different, isn't it? It's very different.
absolutely, yeah.
All this terrible stigma.
Yeah, and that is it, and that's what we're trying to do with the CBD Science Group, is to remove that stigma, to say, look, guys, I mean, there's some very intelligent people here behind this, a lot of very senior professors and doctors and scientists researching this now. The evidence has been around there for an awful long time, and as one of your contributors just said about sort of, you know, the whole issue with Theresa May's husband investing into the GW Pharma. It's rules for them and not for us. And it's actually British Sugar has the contract under glass to grow the GW Pharma product in Norfolk. It's probably heavily secured, but I think the gentleman that runs British Sugar, his wife was the previous drugs minister in the government.
Funny that.
It's funny, isn't it? You know, but we can't have it. It's not allowed unless you pay. I think the Sativex is £500 to £600 a dose per month. I mean, it's insanely expensive when you think people could be allowed to potentially grow their own and just, you know, arthritis and creams and pains and rubs and just generally like homebrew beer, homebrew wine, you know, growing your own herbs for cooking. And why not hemp, you know, or cannabis? Why not?
Absolutely. That's a really good note to end on, and a hope and a prayer, I suppose, for how our culture might change and be a bit more inclusive and not just all about corporations making massive profits at the exclusion of other people. And maybe President Marcelo, he's the guy you need to speak to, Geoff, I think, because he's just such a level head. And he seems the sort of person who would say, okay, you business guys, we know you need to make money, but how about we also let the little guy in the street or on the Quinta grow some of his own as well? This is really not a problem for people. It's not a threat to society. In fact, you know, the radically profiteering pharmaceutical companies are perhaps more a threat to society than the little man growing his own at home or on his farm, arguably. But any parting thoughts or wish or invitation, Geoff? I mean, I know the crowdfund is interesting for pain relief in the NHS.
Well, yeah, certainly. Well, for those that would like to have more information, I can give you some links to the CBD Science Group website, which is .co.uk. I'll give you some links for that and for the crowdfunding opportunity. I mean, we're not looking for mega investors. So I mean, 10, 20, 30, £100 stops, you know, that's fine. We're just looking for people to get involved from a grassroots point of view. And that's literally should be open as of this week. Next week, the website's almost finished. I'll give you some links to post afterwards. But you're asking me why am I coming to Portugal? And I just heard your opening sort of discussions there about what Portugal are doing regarding COVID. They just seem to have a much more pragmatic, sensible view in life. And the way they've actually coped with COVID has been remarkable. I was there literally a month ago, and I didn't mind coming back and isolating in the Cotswolds for 2 weeks. I don't see anybody anyway. But I just like the view on life that the Portuguese have. Yes, they have a bureaucracy that it's probably the best in the world, and which is there for a reason. But it just teaches you patience, which I'm learning slowly. I've got my NIF number finally. Bank account will be open shortly. I keep hearing this. But no, I'm looking forward to traveling to Portugal and the Porto area a lot more over the next 6 months when we get this operation running. We should be into the extraction process, I think, in early March. But we met with the mayor of São Pedro do Sul, went to see the thermal spa there we're partnering with. It's all very exciting, and I just look forward to supporting the Portuguese economy the best we can.
I think that's wonderful. I do like your approach. One thing, sorry, I was going to conclude there, but I need to ask you one other thing. It has been the interest of some people with their own land to grow cannabis for production, you know, for medicinal use. Were you aware? Did you become aware of that, of the possibility for people to do that and basically have a cash crop, or is that not within the realms of small growers at the moment?
I don't believe so. I mean, Infarmed is the major regulatory body in Portugal, and as far as I'm aware, you do need a license from these guys to grow. You can only grow sort of CBD, high CBD seed, low THC. So there are quite a few restrictions. But I mean, if you go through the process with the EU supplied seed, which is CBD high, rich, and low THC, you may have a chance. But there's a lot of bureaucracy in the paperwork, and I say it's the only bigger players that have the sort of legal teams and the consultants that can get in. But I do hope it would happen to come to that. I mean, you know, why shouldn't a guy be able to grow maybe an acre or half a hectare of his own product to make his own soaps or balms or tinctures?
Absolutely.
But from a medical point of view, we have to know what's in it. I mean, and this is why coming from the scientific medical pharmaceutical stance in the beginning, which I suppose goes a little against what I believe in, it means that we have a product then which is completely checked, processed in accordance with EU GMP manufacturing protocols. We then know what works, so we give some credibility to the company, but also to the product itself. But yeah, I would love to see more artisan, in the same way we'd be discussing microbeers and microbreweries on the Man Cave.
Yes.
I think it would be great to have little sort of artisan growers. If you're growing a certain variety on a certain hill in a certain position, has a different flavor or a different effect.
What an amazing idea! Yeah, and like part of Portugal's tourism, couldn't it? Is you're touring around, and then you find like in the Napa Valley, you find a cannabis grower, and you have a bit of lunch and have a look at what they do. What a wonderful thing! And it's job and part of the economy, of course. Jani says, Jani, Boom Festival in Idana Nova is a good example of much less nuisance from alcohol compared to other major festivals in Europe. Yeah, I think that's an alcohol-free festival, if I'm not mistaken, and yeah, legendary around the world, the Boom Festival. Thank you for what you do, Geoff. Finally, between medicines, nature, plastic saws and fabrics, we have to move in this direction that you're aiming at. So thank you, Will, and thank you, Geoff. Are you going to stay with me for the feijoa tasting?
Absolutely.
sorry you don't have one there, but this looks like some sort of medieval symbol, doesn't it? I've sliced it in half, so this is what it looks like. Thanks to Marco, who brought me a box of them round. They're on the trees at the moment, so this sort of size. They can be a bit bigger, so that looks like a baby kiwi, doesn't it? And they do go up to almost kiwi size. That's what they look like in section, like a four-leaf clover as well, isn't it? And
Maltese cross almost.
Yes, a Maltese cross or an Irish fruit. There, so I'm just going to dip into it. I'm going to eat it like I do a kiwi fruit, which is to cut it in half and then scoop it out like a boiled egg. And I have tasted it before, but it's the most remarkable flavour and something to look forward to if you're coming to Portugal. Kiwi-ish, for sure. Oh my word! The thing about this is, and there's definite kiwi flavours in there, but on BBC Food I'm looking at, sometimes known as the pineapple guava, looks like a hairless green kiwi, shiny skin, granular whitish flesh, around translucent flesh and tiny edible seeds. Tastes like something between a pineapple, a guava, and a strawberry with fresh green notes. To me, there's a sort of camphorous changing room. You know that Raljex kind of
delicious.
No, I don't mean to put anybody off with that, but it's very aromatic, not unlike the passion fruit as well that I was holding up. That's got a most sort of, is this word astringent or pungent sort of aroma to it? Not unpleasant at all, but absolutely lovely. So it's feijoa season here in Portugal. Get your hands on those if you possibly can. Geoff, so lovely to talk to you as usual, and thank you for the wonderful work you're doing. Sort of blazing a trail with this. No pun intended. And
no fires, please. No fires.
Hope to see those sort of blazing your cannabis. Yeah, hope to see you having much success with this in Portugal. Thank you, and thanks to everybody who's tuned in this morning. How's your Portuguese coming along?
Bon dia.
That's it. Okay, that's a good start. It'll get you far.
We're getting there. We've had a number of things with Memrise, and we started Mia's class, and it's very good. But unless we're using it daily, it just falls out one ear. I mean, we've got to be there to do it properly.
It's true. It's true. Word of the day is the feijoa, the fruit I've just tasted, and I think he's right. A little and often. You're absolutely right there, Geoff. Keep it going. And of course, when you're here, it's going to be a whole lot easier. And I look forward to sharing a cold Sagres with you in due course.
Or Superbook.
The controversy continues.
Absolutely.
Right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye for now.
Thank you, Carl.
And be back tonight with the Portuguese Positive News Hour at 10 o'clock. Good evening, Portugal. Take care and bye for now.